Hello everyone, I'm Lowie Verschelden, tracking expert at TAGGRS, and today we will be setting up GA4 for lead generation via server SGTM. With several years of tracking experience and numerous implementations under my belt, I aim to help you better understand the setup by the end of this video. Additionally, I want to point out that we have detailed blog posts on our website about the setup, in case you prefer learning through written content. So we will go over these points today. We'll start with an introduction, things you need for the setup. It's a TAGGRS account, the web GTM snippet on your website, and a GA4 account. We will configure the server GTM via TAGGRS. In order to do so, you will have to make an account on TAGGRS. I have already done so to speed up the process. It's very easy, you fill in your details, and then at a certain point, you will be asked to fill in your domain. Slow internet today. You have to fill in your domain, your subdomain. So this is where the server GTM will be hosted. You can just choose for SST, server side tracking. And then you will have to fill in a container configuration. And I will show you where to get this code. So let's say you have a account with a web GTM already, this one. Then we will make a new server GTM container. Choose server, create. Choose for manually provision tagging server. This is your container configuration. You copy this code and fill it in right here. I have already done so to speed up the process. So we can close this one. And then after that, you will have these DNS records will show up and you have to add them to your domain. So add these ones to your domain or ask your web developer to do so. It can take up to 24 hours to show up. And one last thing to add is you go in your server GTM to admin, container settings, and you add your server container URL. This is the same one as you put here. So that's all. Go to our web GTM that we already had. And we will validate if we have done everything correctly. And it's really simple to check. You just go in preview mode. And if you see the screen, it means everything works correctly. If your DNS records haven't been added yet, you'll see an error page. But now everything is correct. We are accessing our subdomain, and our server GTM is being hosted via TAGGRS. Now we will set up our web GTM. So we will start with a Google tag. Google tag ID. You'll go to your GA4 account, admin, data streams, and you take your measurement ID, fill it in here. You have to fill in a server container URL, and this is the one we filled in here. This one. Send page view true. So then we will receive a page view in our server container, yes. And triggering, we will trigger it on initialization, all pages. And we can, I will save this one as a constant. This works easier. So we can reuse it in the other tags. like this. Voila. Now we will go in preview mode. We are in preview mode over server container already. Now we go in preview mode over web container. Connect. Page is loading. On initialization or Google Tag Fires. And it sends a page view to this endpoint, to our subdomain that we configured with this data. And if everything is good, we can see it coming in our server GTM. So this is the incoming request. This is the same as our outgoing request. So this enters our server GTM with all these data. The GA4 client claims it and models it into event data. And this event data we can use to configure variables. For example, it has an event name. It has also our measurement ID, as you can see here. So we can use these variables. Voila. Next thing is we will set up the lead form tracking, so the contact form tracking via web GTM, and send it to our server GTM. So I will close the preview of the web GTM and server as well. I will go in preview mode. We'll fill in our form. And check in preview mode what happens. Nothing much. Check again because it couldn't connect. Now we see that we have some custom events being pushed to the data layer. And I will use this one, GTM for WordPress contact form submitted. Because then we can also use later these values for enhanced conversions. It's possible that if you fill in your form, if you don't work with contact form 7, that you don't have a custom event, then you can look on the internet for event listeners or plugins that give you a custom event to fire your trigger, to fire your tag on. Or you will have to find another way via element visibility or page view, or but this is out of the scope of this video. So we will use this event. I have a data layer checker for this one to easily capture the correct data. So we'll use this value for our trigger. Measurement ID will be the constant that we saved. GA4 generate lead. This is our custom event trigger. We can also add the form ID. So this is useful if you have multiple forms on your website and you only want to trigger it with this specific form. Then you can add the form ID to the trigger. Some custom events, new variable, data layer variable. Form ID. And the form ID has to be equal to 82, I guess. Yes. Voila. We save this one. And we will go once again in preview mode over server GTM and our web GTM. Fill in the form. Didn't connect. Now we will try again. And we can see on this event, or GA4 event generate lead has, or GA4 tag has triggered. And it sends a generate lead event to our server GTM. This event enters our server GTM. And this we can use to send, in this case, to GA4, which we will do later. First, we will set up the other conversions, which are phone click and mail click. So let's see what happens when we click call us. You see a link click. What more do we have? Contains still double point. Let's use that as a trigger. Click telephone. Just links. Some link clicks. Click URL contains. Go in preview mode once again to check if it works. On the link click or GA4 tag, click tell has fired, has sent the event to our server GTM, and has entered our server GTM. So this is working correctly as well. Let's see what happens when you click Malus. You couldn't see because it opened in another screen, but my email program opens. So we see another link click, and now it has mail to. So we will use this one as a trigger. I will copy this one. Click mail. We'll copy this one. Contains mail to. Let's go in preview mode once again. And we see ClickMail has fired correctly and has entered our server GTM. So this is working as expected. Now we will go over to our server GTM to do the setup. So we will go to tags, click new tag, Google Analytics, Google Analytics 4, J4, and we will just forward all events to GA4. Measurement ID, you can either hard code it by adding this, or you can add a variable, event data, and this is the name of the event data that that is the J4 ID that we get from the WebGTM. And I will show you this in a bit. We will event name can be left out. It will just take the event name that enters our server GTM. Trigger, we will trigger it each time the GA4 client claims an event. So client equals GA4. How do we do this? So custom trigger client name equals GA4. And I will also show you what this means or how this works. You can save this. As you can see, we have a client here, GA4, which claims the incoming request from our WebGTM. So let's go in preview mode. Also here. We should have a page view. Uh, what did we do wrong? This is correct. Client name has changed to GA4 client instead of GA4 what we chose. So that's why it's not triggering. We will change this. Contains tags fired. Tags fired. So what have we done? We have configured a GA4 tag, which forwards all events to all incoming events from the WebGTM. It will forward all events to our server, to our GA4 account. So you see this incoming request is claimed by GA4 client, and our trigger is fire on every request in which the client name contains GA4. So this is the case. As you can see, client name contains GA4. And for the measurement ID, it takes the incoming measurement ID and uses this one to send it to GA4. So this is working as expected. I will also show you with the conversions. I will click this one, click this one, and populate the fields. So if everything is good, you have a click telephone, click email, and a generate lead. And with this event, for example, this is forwarded it to J4. And you can see it takes the event's name automatically, generate lead. And if you check in our debug view in GA4, we can see that these events are entering our GA4 account correctly. So that was it for the server GTM setup. Now we will have a little bonus in which we set up enhanced conversions as well. Let's see what happens when we fill in the form. So when we fill in the form, we will get some inputs. For example, I will fill in the form like with real data to see what data we need. Uh, so now we can see that we have this data available in our data layer. And this is exactly the data we will need to set up enhanced conversions. How do we set this up? We only can set it up for this event because with the other events, we don't have this personal data available in the data layer. So we will click this generate lead event, and we will include user provided data from our website. Then you will have to choose a user data variable. You'll go for a new variable, user provided data, contact 7. I call it like this because for all contact form 7 forms on your website, it will work. You can choose for automatic collection, which I don't recommend, but if you are not able to set it up via manual, then you can set it up via automatic. I will only do it for email in this one to speed up the process. So we will choose a new variable, and it's a data layer variable, email, data layer variable name. So we would have to check its inputs dot your first name dot value, but we can more easily take it from here. So we can check where we have our email, this one. So it would be inputs dot 5 dot value. So we copy the key. Paste it in here. Save it. Save it. We will go in preview mode over WebGTM. We fill in the form. You can see that with our data layer variable email that we made, we have this email address captured. And we can also see that we have sent this with our GA4 generate leads tag to our server GTM. And we can see that this data also enters our server GTM like this. And that's all you need to do to set up enhanced conversions for GA4 because you don't need to configure anything else in the server GTM. This will just take over. This will read the event data and send it to GA4 as well via server GTM. And the next thing I want to show you is that we also have so the first part we set it up via manual setup. So we configure all the tags, triggers, variables, but we also have a template gallery. And we have a lot of different CMS systems, data layers as well. For example, we use WooCommerce with the GTM for WordPress plugin for making the data layer. You can just click this one, download the JSON file. You'll have to unzip it. And then next thing you can do is go to admin, import container, and to workspace, and you will see that all tags are already configured for you. You can do the same for server GTM. The only thing left for you to do is to fill in the variables, like your Facebook pixel ID, GA4 measurement ID, etc. That's all that's left. So this is also a really easy way on how to set it up if you are not so experienced with web or server GTM. So I think this was all. Thank you for watching and hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.